Up to. We have mentioned in an earlier chapter that following the breakup of the Bahmani kingdom, three powerful states, Ahmadnagar, Bijapur and Golconda emerged on the scene, and that they combined to crush Vijayanagara at the Battle of Banahati, near Talakota, in 1565. After the victory, the Deccan estates resumed their old ways. Both Ahmadnagar and Bijapur claimed Sholapur, which was a rich and fertile tract. Neither wars nor marriage alliances between the two could resolve the issue. Both the states had the ambition of conquering Bidar. Ahmadnagar also wanted to annex Berar in the north. In fact, as the descendants of the old Bahmani rulers, the Nizam Shahis claimed a superior, if not a hegemonistic, position in the Deccan. Their territorial claims were contested not only by Bijapur, but also by the rulers of Gujarat, who had their eyes on the rich Konkan area, in addition to Berar. The Gujarat rulers actively aided Berar against Ahmadnagar, and even engaged in war against Ahmadnagar in order that the existing balance of power in the Deccan was not upset. Bijapur and Golconda clashed over the possession of Nal Durg. The Mughal conquest of Gujarat in 1572 created a new situation. The conquest of Gujarat could have been a prelude to the Mughal conquest of the Deccan. But Akbar was busy elsewhere and did not want, at that stage, to interfere in the Deccan affairs. Ahmadnagar took Advan. 1019. FER 14. ND South India. 1656. Tage of the situation to annex Berar. In fact, Ahmadnagar and Bijapur came to an agreement whereby Bijapur was left free to expand its dominions in the south at the expense of Vijayanagara, while Ahmadnagar overran Berar. Golconda, too, was interested in extending its territories at the cost of Vijayanagara. All the Deccan estates were, thus, expansionists. Another feature of the situation was the growing importance of the Marathas in the affairs of the Deccan. As we have seen, the Maratha troops had always been employed as loose auxiliaries or barges, usually called barges, in the Bahmani kingdom. The revenue affairs at the local level were in the hands of the Deccan Brahmanas. Some of the old Maratha families which rose in the service of the Bahmani rulers and held mansabs and jagirs from them were the Moor, Nimborka, Ghatka, etc. Most of them were powerful zamindars or deshmukhs, as they were called in the Deccan. However, unlike the Rajputs, none of them was an independent ruler or ruled over a large kingdom. Secondly, they were not the leaders of clans on whose backing and support they could depend. Hence, many of the Maratha Sardars appear to be military adventurers who were prepared to shift their loyalty according to the prevailing wind. Nevertheless, the Marathas formed the backbone of the landed aristocracy of the Deccan and had a position similar to the one. 1019. 174. Held by the Rajputs in large parts of North India. During the middle of the 16th century, the rulers of the Deccan states embarked upon a definite policy of winning over the Marathas to their side. The Maratha chiefs were accorded service and positions in all the three leading states of the Deccan. Ibrahim Adil Shah of Bijapur, who ascended the throne in 1535, was the leading advocate of this policy. It is said that he entertained 30,000 Maratha auxiliaries, barges, in his army, and showed great favour to the Marathas in the revenue system. He is supposed to have introduced Marathi in revenue accounts at all levels. Apart from increasing his favours to old families, a few other families such as the Bonsales who had the family name of Gopade, the Dafles, or Shavons, etc., also rose to prominence in Bijapur as a result of this policy. Maharashtrian Brahmanas were regularly used for diplomatic negotiations as well. Thus the title of Peshwa was accorded to a Brahmana. Kenko Janosi by the rulers of Ahmadnagar. Marathas played an important role in the states of Ahmadnagar and Golconda as well. It will thus be seen that the policy of allying with local landed and military classes had been initiated by the Deccan rulers even before such a policy was implemented by the Mughals under Akbar. Mughal advance towards the Deccan. It was logical to expect a Mughal advance towards the Deccan after the consolidation of the empire in North India. Although the Vindhyas divided the north and the south, they were not an insurmountable barrier. Travellers, merchandise, pilgrims and wandering saints had always passed between the north and the south, making the two culturally one, though each had its own distinctive cultural features. The conquest of the Deccan by the Chulaks and the improved communicative ties between the north and the south had led to 1019. Medieval India. Decline of the strengthening of the commercial and cultural relations between the two. After the Delhi Sultanate, many Sufi saints and persons in search of employment had migrated to the cone of the Bahmani rulers. Politically also, the north and south were not isolated. As we have seen, the rulers of Gujarat and Malwa in the west, and Orissa in the east had been continually involved in the politics of South India. Hence, after the conquest of Malwa and Gujarat in the 60s and Kali 70s, the Mughals could hardly have kept themselves aloof from Deccan politics. In 1576, a Mughal army invaded Khandesh, and compelled the rulers of Khandesh to submit. However, urgent matters called Akbar elsewhere. For 12 years, between 1586 and 1598, Akbar lived at Lahore, watching the northwestern situation. In the interval, affairs in the Deccan deteriorated. The Deccan was a seething cauldron of politics. War between the various Deccan estates was a frequent occurrence. The death of a ruler often led to factional fights among the nobles, with each party trying to act as kingmaker. In this, hostility between the Deccanists and the newcomers, Afghans or Garibs, found free play. Among the Deccanists, too, the Habshis, Abyssinians or Africans, and Afghans formed separate groups. These groups and factions had little contact with the life and culture of the people of the region. The process of the assimilation of the Marathas into the military and political system the Deccan estates, which had started earlier, did not make much headway. The rulers and the nobles, therefore, commanded little loyalty from the people. The situation was worsened by sectarian conflicts and controversies. Towards the beginning of the century, religion Shi'ism became the state religion of Iran under a new dynasty called the Safavid dynasty. Shi'ism has been suppressed sect for a long time, and in the first flush of enthusiasm. 1020. The Deccan and South India. Surgeries of the new sect indulged in a good deal of persecution of their erstwhile opponents. As a result, members of many eminent families fled to India and sought shelter at the court of Akbar, who made no distinction between Shias and Sunnis. Some of the Deccan estates, notably Golconda, adopted Shi'ism as a state religion. At the courts of Bijapur and Ahmadnagar, too, the Shiite party was strong, but was able to prevail only from time to time. This resulted in heightened party strife. Madawi ideas had also spread widely in the Deccan. The Muslims believed that in every epoch a man from the family of the Prophet will make an appearance and will strengthen the religion and make justice triumph. Such a person was called the Mahdi. Although many Mahdis had appeared in different countries at different times, the ENA, or the first millennium of Telem, which was due towards the end of the 16th century, had raised expectations throughout the Islamic world. IR. India, one Syed Muhammad, who was born at Jaunpur in the first half of the 15th century, proclaimed himself to be the Mahdi. Syed Muhammad travelled widely all over India and in the Islamic world, and created great enthusiasm. He established his daras circles in different parts of the country, Ncert in the Deccan, where his ideas found a fertile soil. The orthodox elements were as bitterly opposed to Mahdawism as to Shi'ism, though there was no love lost between the two. It was in this context that Akbar had put forward the concept of sulkul. He was afraid that the bitter sectarian rivalries prevailing in the Deccan estates would spill over into the Mughal Empire. Akbar was also apprehensive of the growing power of the Portuguese. The Portuguese had been interfering in pilgrim traffic to Mecca, not sparing the royal ladies. In their territories, they were carrying on proselytizing activities which Akbar disliked. They were constantly trying to expand their positions on the mainland and had 1024. 175. Even tried to lay their hand on Ncert, which was saved by the timely arrival of a Mughal commandeer. Akbar apparently felt that the coordination and pooling of the resources of the Deccan estates under Mughal supervision would check, if not eliminate, the Portuguese danger. These were some of the factors which impelled Akbar to involve himself in the Deccan affairs. Conquest of Berar, Ahmadnagar and Khandesh. Akbar claimed suzerainty the entire country. He was, therefore, keen that like the Rajputs, the rulers of the Deccan estates should acknowledge his suzerainty. Embassies sent by him early suggesting that the Deccan estates recognize his power and be friends with him did not, however, wipe positive results. It was obvious that the Deccan estates would not accept Mughal suzerainty till the Mughals were in a position to exert military pressure on them. In 1591, Akbar launched offensive. He sent embase.es to all the Deccan estates inviting them to accept Mughal suzerainty. As might have been expected, none of the states accepted this offer, the only exception being Khandesh, which was too near and exposed to the Mughals to resist. Burhan, the ruler of Ahmadnagar, was rude to the Mughal envoy, the others only made promises of friendship. It seemed that Akbar was on the verge of making a definite move in the Deccan. The necessary opportunity was provided to him when factional fighting broke out among the Nizam Shahi nobles following the death of Burhan in 1595. There were 4 candidates for the throne, backed by different parties. The strongest claim was that of Bahadur, son of the deceased ruler. Ibrahim Adil Shah II, the ruler of Bijapur, was inclined to support his claim. Chand Bibi, who was the sister of Burhan, was the widow of the former ruler of Bijapur, who was Ibrahim's uncle. She was a remarkable d. 1025. 176. Woman and had virtually ruled Bijapur for almost 10 years when Ibrahim Adil Shah was a minor. She had gone to Ahmadnagar to condole, but stayed there to take up with vigour the cause of her nephew. It was against this background that the leaders of the rival party, the Deccanists, invited the Mughals to intervene. The struggle which now began was really a struggle between Bijapur and the Mughals for the domination of Ahmednagar state. The Mughal invasion was led by Prince Murad, who was the governor of Gujarat, and by Abdurrahim Khan I Khanan. The ruler of Khandesh was asked to cooperate. Due to factional fights among the Ahmadnagar nobles, the Mughals encountered little opposition till they reached the capital, Ahmadnagar. Chand Bibi shut herself up in the fort with the boy king, Bahadur. After a close siege of 4 months in which Chand Bibi played a valiant role, the two sides came to an agreement. It was agreed to cede Berar to the Mughals in return for their recognition of the claim of Bahadur. Mughal suzerainty was also recognized. This was in 1596. The Mughal annexation of Berar alarmed the Deccan estates. They felt, not without reason, that Berar would give the Mughals a permanent foothold in the Deccan which could be enlarged upon at any time. Hence, they sided with Ahmadnagar and created obstacles in the Mughals taking POS cession of Berar. Soon, a combined force of Bijapur, Golconda and Ahmadnagar led by a Bijapur commander invaded Berar in strength. In a hard-fought battle in 1597, the Mughals defeated a Deccan force 3 times their number. The Bijapuri and Golconda forces now withdrew, leaving Chand Bibi alone to meet the situation. Although Chand Bibi was in favour of observing the Treaty of 1596, she could not stop the harassing attacks on the Mughals in Berar by her nobles. This resulted in a second Mughal siege of Ahmadnagar. In the absence of any help, 1025. Medieval India. From any quarter, Chand Bibi opened negotiations with the Mughals. She was, however, caused of treachery by a hostile faction and murdered. Thus ended the life of one of the most romantic figures in Deccan politics. The Mughals now assaulted and captured Ahmadnagar. The boy king, Bahadur, was sent to the fortress of Gwalior. Balagat, too, was added to the empire and a Mughal garrison was stationed at Ahmadnagar. This was in 1600. The fall of Ahmednagar and the capture of Bahadur Nizam Shah did not solve Akbar's problems in the Deccan. There was now no Nizam Shahi prince or noble with sufficient standing to negotiate with. At the same time, the Mughals were not inclined to advance beyond Ahmednagar or try to seize all the remaining territories of the state. The situation became further confused due to constant wrangling among the Mughal commanders. To study the situation on the spot, Akbar advanced into Malwa and then into Khandesh. There he learnt that the new ruler of Khandesh had not shown due respect to Prince Daniel when he had passed through his territory on his way to Ahmednagar. Akbar was also keen to secure the fort of Asurgarh in Khandesh, which was reputed to be the strongest fort in the Deccan. After a tight siege, and when a pestilence had broken out, the ruler came out and surrendered, 1601. Khandesh was incorporated in the Mughal Empire. Meanwhile, Prince Daniel, the youngest son of Akbar, who had been placed in command of Mughal armies in the Deccan, concluded a peace with Mirza Nizam Shah, who had been proclaimed ruler after the fall of Ahmednagar by a group of Nizam Shahi nobles. According to the agreement, Ahmednagar, Balaghat and parts of Telangana were surrendered to the Mughals, and the remaining portions of the kingdom confirmed. 1025. The Deccan and South India. To Mirza Nizam Shah on condition of loyalty, and that he would never rebel. This was in 1601. After the capture of Asurgarh, Akbar returned to the north to deal with the rebellion of his son, Salim. Although the conquest of Khandesh, Berar and Balaghat, and Mughal control over the fort of Ahmednagar were substantial achievements, the Mughals had yet to consolidate their position. Akbar was conscious that no lasting solution to the Deccan problem could be arrived at without an agreement with Bijapur. He had, therefore, sent messages of assurances to Ibrahim Adil Shah II, who offered to marry his daughter to Prince Daniel. But soon after the marriage, 1602, the prince died of excessive drinking. Thus the situation in the Deccan remained nebulous, and had to be tackled by Akbar's successor, Jahangir. Rise of Malik Umbar and frustration of Mughal attempt at consolidation. After the fall of Ahmednagar and capture of Bahadur Nizam Shah by the Mughals, the state of Ahmednagar would have disintegrated and different parts of it would have, in all probability, been swallowed up by the neighbouring states, but for the rise of a remarkable man, Malik Umbar. Malik Umbar was an Abyssinian, born in Ethiopia. We do not know much about his early life and career. It seems that his poor parents sold him at the slave market of Baghdad. In course of time, he was purchased by a merchant who treated him well and brought him to the Deccan, which was a land of promise. Malik Umbar rose in the service of Changiz Khan, one of the famous and influential nobles of Mirza Nizam Shah. When the Mughals invaded Ahmednagar, Umbar at first went to Bijapur to try his luck there. But he soon came back and enrolled himself in the powerful Habshi, Abyssinian, party which was opposed to Chand Bibi. After the fall of Ahmednagar, Malik Umbar found a Nizam. 1026. 177. Shahi prince and with the tacit support of the ruler of Bijapur, set him up as Mirza Nizam Shah II, with himself as the Peshwa, a title which had been common in Ahmednagar much earlier. Malik Umbar gathered around him a large band of Maratha troopers or Bajas. The Marathas were adept in rapid movements, and in plundering and cutting off the supplies of the enemy troops. Although this guerrilla mode of warfare was traditional with the Marathas in the Deccan, the Mughals were not used to it. With the help of the Marathas, Umbar made it difficult for the Mughals to consolidate their position in Berar, Ahmednagar and Balaghat. The Mughal commander in the Deccan at the time was Abdurrahim Khan I Khanan, a shrewd and wily politician and an able soldier. He inflicted a crushing defeat on Umbar in 1601 in Telangana, at a place called Nanda. However, he decided to make friends with Umbar since he considered it desirable that there should be some stability in the remaining Nizam Shahi kingdom. In his turn, Umbar also found it useful to cultivate the friendship of the Khan I Khanan since it enabled him to deal with his internal rivals. However, after the death of Akbar, when the position of the Mughals in the Deccan became weak due to differences among the Mughal commanders, Umbar unleashed a fierce campaign to expel the Mughals from Berar, Balaghat and Ahmednagar. In this enterprise he was helped by Ibrahim Adil Shah, the ruler of Bijapur, who considered it necessary that the Nizam Shahi state should continue as a buffer between Bijapur and the Mughals. He gave Umbar the powerful fort of Kandahar in Telangana for the residence of his family and for storing treasures, provisions, etc. He also sent him 10,000 horsemen, for whose support a definite tract of territory was to be set apart. The treaty was cemented by a marriage alliance between the daughter of one of the leading Ethiopian nobles of Bijapur with Malik. 1027. 178. Umbar. The marriage was celebrated in 1609 with great rejoicing, the Adil Shah giving a hand some dowry to the bride and spending about 80,000 rupees on fireworks alone. Fortified with the support of Bijapur, and with the active aid of the Marathas, Umbar soon forced Khan I Khanan to retreat to Burhanpur. Thus, by 1610, all the gains in the Deccan made by Akbar were lost. Although Jahangir sent Prince Parvez to the Deccan with a large army, he could not meet the Kha, posed by Malik Umbar. Even Ahmednagar as out, and Parvez had to conclude a disgraceful peace with Umbar. The affairs of Malik Umbar continued to prosper, and the Mughals were not able to reassert themselves as long as he had the solid support of the Marathas and other elements in the Deccan. But in course of time, Malik Umbar became arrogant and alienated his allies. The Khan I Khanan, who had again been posted as the Mughal viceroy of the Deccan, took advantage of the situation and won over to his side a number of Habshis and Maratha nobles such as Jagdev Rai, Babaji Kate, Udaja Ram, etc. Jahangir himself was well aware of the value of the Marathas, for he observed in his memoirs that the Marathas are a hardy lot and are the centre of resistance in that country. With the help of the Maratha Sardars, the Khan I Khanan inflicted a crushing defeat on the combined forces of Ahmednagar, Bijapur, and Golconda in 1616. The Mughals occupied the new Nizam Shahi capital, Kirki, and burnt all its buildings before they left. This defeat shook the Deccani alliance against the Mughals. However, Umbar did not relax his efforts. To complete the Khan I Khanan's victory. Jahangir sent a grand army under his son, Prince Khurram, later Shah Jahan, and himself moved to Mandu to support the prince 1618. Faced with this threat, Ambar had no option but to submit. It is significant, however, that in the treaty Jahangir did not try to enlarge the conquest. 1027. India. Made by Akbar in the Deccan. This was not due to any military weakness on the part of Jahangir, as has been sometimes imagined, but due to deliberate policy. Apparently, Jahangir did not want to extend Mughal commitments in the December Khan, or become too deeply embroiled in its affairs. Moreover, he was still hopeful that his moderation would enable the Deccan estates to settle down and live in peace with the Mughals. As a part of his policy, Jahi tried to win over Bijapur to land center Adil Shah for Manto. Despite these, Bar continued to lead the Deccani resistance against the Mughals, and there was no peace in the Deccan. However, 2 years later, the combined Deccan forces again suffered a severe defeat at the hands of the Mughals. Ambar had to restore all the Mughal territories, and another 14 costs of adjoining territory. The Deccan estates had to pay an indemnity of 5 million rupees. The credit for these victories was given to Prince Khurram. This second defeat, coming so soon after the first, finally shattered the united front of the Deccan estates against the Mughals. The old rivalries among the Deccan estates now came to the surface. Ambar conducted a series of campaigns against Bijapur for the recovery of Sholapur, which was a bone of contention between the two states. By a rapid movement, Ambar reached the Bijapur capital, burnt the new capital of Noraspur built by Ibrahim Adil Shah, and forced him to flee for shelter to the fort. This might be regarded the climax of Ambar's power. Although Ambar showed remarkable military skill, energy and determination, his achievements were short-lived due to his inability or unwillingness to come to terms with the Mughals. The chief significance of the rise of Ambar, however, is that it represented a clear recognition of the importance of the Marathas in Deccani affairs. The success of the Marathas. 1028. The Deccan and South India. Under the leadership of Malik Ambar gave them confidence, which enabled them to play an independent role later on. Malik Ambar tried to improve the administration of the Nizam Shahi state by introducing Todar Mal's system of land revenue. He abolished the old system of giving land on contract, Bajara, which was ruinous for the peasants, and adopted the Zabta system. After 1622, when the Deccan was in turmoil due to the rebellion of Prince Khurram against Jahangir, Malik Ambar was able to recover once again many of the old territories which had been ceded to the Mughals. Jahangir's attempt at consolidating the Mughal position in the Deccan was, thus, frustrated. However, the long-range benefits to Ahmadnagar for reopening the dispute with the Mughals may be considered doubtful. It led to the situation in which Shah Jahan decided that he had no alternative but to extinguish Ahmadnagar as an independent state. Malik Ambar breathed his last in 1626 at the ripe age of 80. But the bitter fruits of his legacy had to be reaped by his successors. Extinction of Ahmadnagar, and acceptance of Mughal suzerainty by Bijapur and Golconda. Shah Jahan ascended the throne in 1628, having commanded 2 expeditions to the Deccan as a prince and spent a considerable period in the Deccan during his rebellion against his father. Shah Jahan had a great deal of experience and personal knowledge of the Deccan and its politics. Shah Jahan's first concern as a ruler was to recover the territories in the Deccan which had been lost to the Nizam Shahi ruler. For the purpose, he deputed an old and experienced noble, Khan Jahan Lodi. However, Khan Jahan Lodi failed in the enterprise and was recalled to the court. Shortly afterwards, he rebelled and 1028. 179. Joined the Nizam Shah, who deputed him to expel the Mughals from the remaining portions of Berar and Balaghat. Giving asylum to a leading Mughal noble in this manner was a challenge which Shah Jahan could not ignore. It was clear that even after Malik Ambar's death, his policy of refusing to recognize the Mughal position in Berar and Balaghat shrewd move on the part of Shah Jahan to isolate Ahmadnagar diplomatically and militarily. He also sent feelers to the various Maratha Sardars to join Mughal service. At first, Shah Jahan was successful in his overtures. Malik Ambar had defeated and killed some prominent Bijapuri nobles during his campaigns. The Adil Shah also was smarting at the humiliation of the burning of Noraspur and the annexation of Sholapur by Malik Ambar. He, therefore, accepted Shah Jahan's proposal and posted an army at the Nizam Shahi border to cooperate with the Mughals. Around this time, Jodh of Io, a prominent Maratha noble who had defected to the side of the Mughals during the reign of Jahangir, but had gone back to the service of the Nizam Shah, was treacherously murdered on a charge of conspiring with the Mughals. As a result, Shah Jahan Sale, who was his son-in-law and the father of Shivajah, defected to the Mughal side along with his relations. Shah Jahan accorded him a mansab of 5,000 and gave him jagirs in the Pune.